in my early 20s, I used to like reading novels written in the 1950s, and in particular not quite science fiction, more ones that presented like a dystopian type of future. So authors like H.G. Wells, famous for War of the Worlds, and George Orwell, famous for 1984. Now another author of that era was called Ray Bradbury, and he's most famous for a novel called Fahrenheit 451, where he presented a future where books had been banned, they were illegal, and the job of firemen in this future was if books were found in a house, the fireman would come and burn the house down. But Ray Bradbury really wrote lots of short stories that would be published in magazines of the day, and you often found 10 or 20 of these short stories would be bundled together in a book. And one of these books was called The October Country. So The October Country was a collection of short stories that sort of presented a slightly dark, foreboding world of leaden skies and sort of semi-permanent twilight, if you like. And so October was painted as not a very nice month, basically. Now, in contrast, I really like October. I like the coolness in the air, the fact that it's not too cold, and that when I get up at 6:30, 7 o'clock, it's still just about light. I hate getting up in the dark. And it gets dark reasonably early, around 7 o'clock in the evening, which is good for my astrophotography. So I don't have to stay up till 1 AM and stuff. So yeah, October to me is one of my favourite times of year, and I thought I'd take you out with me today to have a cup of coffee and a bit of cake in one of my favourite cafes. And things haven't quite been going to plan for me this year, so I shall fill you in on what's what while we enjoy coffee and a cake.
I said I loved you, but you let go. I waited for hours, but you never showed. You were all my heart knew, but that's all I held on to. But you let go. We met over coffee on 17th Street. As easy as that when two souls meet. We said I'd do for worse or better, promised to hold on forever, but you let go. Time flew by like a thunderstorm. People change and that's nobody's fault. It's a numbing silence when no one talks.
want to be in a small YouTube video, or shall I edit you out?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Edit you out. Can I have, yeah, the homemade smoky beans on toast, please? They're very nice. And a mocha, please. Well, welcome to the Archive Cycle Cafe. It's not a particularly obvious place to find. It was here a year before I realised, because it's situated behind a car dealership. But it's a super nice place to come. They like a bit of a joint venture really. There's the Archive Cycling Cafe, and also here is Gloria Titanium Bicycles, which is a direct-to-consumer bicycle brand run by a chap called Carlos. And they organise social events, joint rides. I think there was a comedy night here a little while ago, and they've got a big screen up where they show major bike races. They had the Olympics televised here. I think at the moment it's snowboarding by the look of it, and they serve really nice food. So yeah, I've come for my coffee here today, and rather than a cake, I'm getting their take on beans on toast. So about this time last year, I set myself a couple of targets for this year, as I usually do in the autumn of a previous year. And the two targets that I set myself were to climb Ben Nevis in winter conditions in January or February, and to ride a bike for 100 miles. Now these targets are obviously fairly difficult, but not outlandish. I'd walk the fan dance, which is the Army selection march used for special services, albeit much slower and with much less kit than they do in the military. But this particular walk has about the same amount of elevation as going up Ben Nevis, but is a bit longer. So it's a good replication of Ben Nevis without having to travel all the way to Scotland. And although I was glad to have finished it, I wasn't on my hands and knees. So potentially that showed me that Ben Nevis in winter was a possibility. Now it's not to be taken lightly. People die on Ben Nevis every year, and doing it in winter conditions is infinitely harder than doing it in summer conditions, which I wouldn't have any concern. I've been up it 4 times or 5 times before, so I wouldn't be worried about that. But I've never done it in winter. And as far as the cycling target goes, last year I rode, I think, 120 something kilometres, which is probably around 70 odd miles. So I didn't feel that, you know, with a bit of training, that the jump up to 100 miles was too outlandish. However, in about November last year, towards the end of November, maybe Black Friday time, I started to get quite a lot of problems with my back. Now I've had problems on and off with my back for a few years. For those that don't know, I'm semi-retired and I work in an outdoor gear shop, and this involves a lot of standing, lifting, bending, twisting, all the stuff that's not really great for your back. But it had always kind of sorted itself out, and the only thing was I had a week off anyway, like a week's break, which normally would have sort of got me back to normal. But it didn't sort of clear up my back issues. They weren't getting any better. And this meant that I couldn't really get fit enough to climb Ben Nevis. So in the end, I had to pan that idea. It didn't work out as a total disaster, because I went up to the Lake District instead in January and had an absolutely amazing walk under blue sky conditions with a huge dumping of snow the day before I got there. So it was absolutely glorious, and I don't begrudge not going up to Ben Nevis. The walk did show me though that I wouldn't have been fit enough to do Ben Nevis. This particular walk that I did was probably like doing half of Ben Nevis. So that proved to be the right decision. A couple of months after this, the shop that I work in closed down, and a shop closure involves a huge amount of physical work. So much lifting of clothing, ironwork, it's just so difficult. And this meant that my back wasn't getting any better. So this was sort of pegging me back a bit, cycling wise, but not too bad. I think my position on the bike actually made me feel quite good. It's just I found when I was climbing up steeper hills, that wasn't all that great. I transferred after the shop closure to a sister shop a few miles away, which is a much smaller shop, and I'd kind of expected the fact that I was in a smaller shop with less lugging and stuff around would enable my back to clear up, and sadly that sort of didn't happen. So I had to peg back my cycling goal as well. In the end, I think this summer the longest ride I did was about 50 miles, which is all right. I mean, I can't moan, but nonetheless this meant I'd failed at the two objectives that I set myself this time last year. June I did a little bit of a test out, and I went to the Brecon Beacons to walk up a relatively low hill on a short and comparatively low walk, typically about half the ascent of going up Penny Van, for example, and half the time as well. And it was a very nice walk, but basically I could feel pain every single step. It was like a jarring in my lower back. So I wasn't really sure what to do at this point. I was still okay largely on my bike, just, you know, I wasn't interested in doing 100 miles anymore, but it didn't really affect me over much. But by the time July came round, I'll say I was in pretty well constant lower back pain. So typical of a man, I'd ignored this thing for like 6 or 8 months, and finally decided it was maybe time to get someone to have a look at it. So as luck would have it, across the road from where I work is a physiotherapist. So I booked an appointment to see them in August, and was given a kind of initial assessment. Chap basically said that I'd got problems with my facet joints. Now, facet joints are joints that kind of support the spine. They run behind the spine, and they're a hinge joint, a bit like your knee or your elbow. And in my case, they were suffering from degradation, which is not particularly uncommon the older you get. Now, the way to mitigate the problems caused by this condition are basically strength exercises and flexibility exercises. So the physio has given me a pile of stuff to do, and the idea is that over a period of months my core will become much stronger, and this will end up putting less load on my spine, which will hopefully get me back to being able to carry a 15-kilo rucksack and do a 7 or 8 hour walk over relatively rough ground. So my hope is that by the springtime, or worst case the summer, that I shall be strong enough to do this without undue discomfort. The degradation can't actually be cured. It's a kind of chronic condition that I'll have forever now, basically. But the idea is to kind of manage it to get as much of your kind of normal life and activity going as you can. The causes of it are basically, you know, super long term. My career job before I semi-retired, I basically spent all my time sitting at a desk in front of a computer, so that's like not a good thing. Even though I was fairly active, I was still sitting at a desk for like 8 hours a day. And what I should have been doing from the age of about 40 onwards was weights and flexibility. And of course, rather annoyingly, I knew about all of this, but I just wanted to go out and ride my bike and walk up mountains. I was never interested in the gym or doing exercises at home or anything. And so by the time you get to 60, you start paying the price for these kind of lifetime decisions, if you like. Now, I can't really moan. I mean, I'm nearly 61 now, and I've been incredibly lucky all my life with health issues. And, you know, I'm immensely grateful that I've been able to do all this stuff and that I'm still out on my bike. Now, the second factor has come into play, which I kind of need to mull over. I mentioned that the previous shop that I worked in closed down. That was in April, and I transferred to another shop in the same group. Started there early May, and it's just been announced that this current shop's going to close again, or close as well. Maybe I'm kind of a bit of bad luck. So I've got the choice now, really, of moving to another shop or retiring. My physio thinks I should retire on the grounds that if I'm not forced to stand on my feet for 8 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week, my recovery rate on my back's going to get exponentially faster. The bit I'll miss about working is talking to all the customers. I like hearing about their adventures and helping fit them in a good pair of boots or a rucksack or something. And I enjoy working with my colleagues as well. So yeah, I've got a bit of a dilemma. And perhaps you'll put your thoughts down on what you think I should do in the comments section. Yeah, so it's been a bit of a funny year. You've got to keep smiling though, and as I say, I am immensely grateful for everything that, you know, I have been able to do. So if anyone watching this has suffered from facet joint pain or osteoarthritis or something, and been trying to maintain an active life, exercising and such like, I'd be interested to hear how you get on and how you manage to achieve maintaining your activity. And as I said before, if you've got any thoughts on whether I should jack it in and retire, then let me know in the comments section as well. But in the meantime, I'm just about to finish up here and get on my bike and head off home. So by the next time I see you, hopefully I'll have a little bit more news. So yeah, take care. See you.